The year is 1588. The sky over the English Channel is black with smoke. Hundreds of Spanish warships, the most powerful fleet in the world, are closing in on England. Outnumbered, outgunned, and facing almost certain destruction, the English fleet has only one hope: a cunning, ruthless privateer named Sir Francis Drake. But when England's greatest sailor receives news that the Spanish Armada is approaching, he does something unthinkable. Instead of rushing to battle, he calmly continues playing a game of bowls on the shore. Why? Was it arrogance, brilliance, or did he know something that the Spanish didn't? Because what happened next would change naval warfare forever and mark the beginning of British naval dominance. This is the story of how one man and one battle altered the course of history. For years, Spain was the undisputed ruler of the seas. Their empire stretched across the globe, fueled by gold and silver from the New World. Their navy was unmatched, their power unquestioned. King Philip II of Spain believed he was chosen by God to rule over England. He saw Queen Elizabeth as a heretic, an illegitimate ruler standing in the way of Catholic dominance. But Philip had another reason for wanting war: revenge. For years, English privateers, legal pirates sanctioned by the Queen, had been attacking Spanish ships, stealing their treasure and burning their ports. And at the center of it all was Sir Francis Drake. Drake wasn't just any sailor. He was the most feared English captain on the high seas, a master of naval warfare, a cunning strategist, and a man who had already humiliated Spain. In 1577, Drake became the first Englishman to circumnavigate the globe, raiding Spanish ships along the way. He sacked Spanish towns, looted their gold, and even attacked their treasure fleets in the Caribbean. To Spain, he was a pirate, a menace, a man who needed to be stopped. In 1587, Philip II had had enough. He began assembling the largest fleet the world had ever seen: 130 ships, 30,000 men, and enough firepower to crush England forever. This was the Spanish Armada, an unstoppable force meant to invade England, overthrow Elizabeth, and bring the Protestant nation under Spanish control. The English were terrified. Spain's fleet was massive, its soldiers battle-hardened. England had no chance in a direct fight. But then, in a move that stunned the world, Drake struck first. Before the Armada could even set sail, Drake led a daring raid on the Spanish port of Cadiz, burning over 30 ships and delaying Spain's invasion. He called it the singeing of the King of Spain's beard. Philip was furious. He rebuilt his fleet, and in July 1588, the Armada finally set sail. England braced for the worst. Cities prepared for invasion. Church bells rang in warning. The world held its breath. And where was Sir Francis Drake, still playing bowls on the cliffs of Plymouth? A messenger ran to him, shouting that the Armada had been spotted. Drake simply nodded and said, "Plenty of time to finish the game and beat the Spaniards too." Was this arrogance or genius? Because once the game was over, Drake would unleash a storm of fire on the seas. The Spanish Armada arrived in the English Channel in July 1588, stretching for miles, an unbreakable crescent formation of towering warships. Each galleon was a floating fortress, heavily armed and seemingly invincible. The Spanish plan was simple: sail to the Netherlands, pick up thousands of additional troops, and launch a full-scale invasion of England. But Sir Francis Drake had other ideas. Instead of engaging in traditional naval combat, he used England's greatest weapon, speed. Drake and his men harassed the massive Spanish ships with smaller, faster vessels, darting in and out, unleashing cannon fire before vanishing into the mist. The Spanish, used to close-range combat, were too slow to respond. For days, the English relentlessly attacked while staying just out of reach. But it wasn't enough. The Armada continued its march, unshaken. Time was running out. Then, on the night of August 7th, 1588, Drake unleashed his masterstroke. Fireships. He took old, useless English ships, set them ablaze, and sent them straight into the anchored Spanish fleet. Panic erupted. The Spanish sailors, believing they were under a supernatural attack, cut their anchors and fled in chaos. Their once impenetrable crescent formation was shattered. Now, the English had one final chance to strike. As the broken armada drifted near grab lines, Drake and his fleet moved in for the kill. They pounded the Spanish ships with relentless cannon fire, blasting holes in their hulls, shredding their sails, and sending men overboard. The Spanish, trapped and leaderless, had no choice but to flee north. But the final blow didn't come from cannons. It came from the sky. A monstrous storm roared in, hammering the remaining Spanish ships. Hurricane-force winds and towering waves tore through the fleet, sending dozens of ships to the ocean floor. By the time it was over, only half of the Armada survived. The invincible Spanish fleet had been utterly destroyed, and Sir Francis Drake had just changed the course of history. The defeat of the Spanish Armada wasn't just a victory for England. It was the beginning of British naval dominance. From that moment on, the seas belonged to England. Over the next 2 centuries, they would build the greatest empire the world had ever seen, all thanks to Drake's cunning and the storm that saved England. But the story doesn't end there. Drake went on to explore new lands, raid more Spanish ships, and even attempt a secret final mission, one that would cost him his life. What do you think? Was Sir Francis Drake a hero, a pirate, or something in between? Let us know in the comments. And if you love epic stories of history, war, and adventure, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more. Because history isn't just something you read about, it's something you feel.